And so January 1st, half of the place became ours. So the way that worked is each each side of the family worked with their attorney, their own attorney, to draft some ideas and draft some concepts about what they wanted to see with ranch. Then we got together and hashed it out. It was the first document, and what that was an overarching map and plan for what the ranch was going to look like going forward. Back to that family agreement, what that did was that set the roadmap for all of these things to happen, which pieces needed to come into play, who was going to do what, who was going to set up the LLCs with the Secretary of State, who was going to. We didn't do ranch roles. We figured that was too deep into the weeds to decide who's going to clean the barn, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. You just figure that out operationally, and just go do that. But it gave us that map that we could go back to when we got busy haying and walked away from it for 2 months. Okay, what do we need to do next? What's the next piece? What's the next piece? And fortunately, we had worked with a couple of really good attorneys that gave us that flexibility in there and gave us the room to move some things around. And part of that family agreement was we pre-approved purchasers for the ranch, the family ranch, not the family land. We didn't go into the weeds on that, but Iverson Ranch approved myself as purchaser from Dad, and then approved my two cousins buying out from my aunt and uncle. Now we can still only have two managers, only two people who have say, but we did that ahead just so that nobody could stop the sale from going forward. Like, we knew these three cousins probably want it. We're going to write it up that those three cousins can buy it and work on it together.
So what was the key that allowed your family to kind of grind through to a final realization of what you wanted? Did you have any like places where you stopped and you kind of walked away from it for 6 months, or you guys just, once you got moving, you just kind of kept after it?
All of the above. We had early on assigned tasks that kind of each family member was supposed to work on. My uncle was supposed to gather up all the lease information, the information from our BLM permit, information from, you know, they were supposed to pull up a bunch of the old ranch documents that they had used to formulate their partnership from Grandpa. We still had things titled in Grandpa's name, and he'd been dead for almost 20 years. Um, so, somebody was supposed to dig up all the titles. Somebody was supposed to go find all these things. My job was inventory. I need to get out and find make, model, and serial number if I could. Some of our equipment doesn't have serial numbers. It was before that, a lot of our equipment. But what that did was we had a job to do. We had a task, and it kept each of us focused on one thing. There wasn't one person having to drive it all and get everybody just on board following. We all had something to do. So that division of labor helped, and division of projects. I could keep moving on the inventory, and I was wanting to move. So I would bring up, hey, I just got such and such. I got an appraisal from this guy on this tractor. I got an appraisal on this piece of equipment. Oh, that reminds me, I got to go do something else. And so Denny would take off and he would go work on his project. So just kind of keeping it in the forefront. Everybody was doing a little bit, and just, but we'd also break down during calving season. Nothing happened during calving season. Haying, we have a very short window to put up hay, before it gets too humid in the overnight. Humidity is coming up and our hay doesn't dry. So we come haying, it just got put away for a while. So it took a couple of years of working with the attorney. It had taken us 5 years to get to that point, and then 2 years with the attorney before we actually got it done. So that's what worked for us. So we had short breaks and we had some longer breaks, and then we'd kind of have this aha, like, oh man, we've got to get this done. And Dad kept up after me too. It was kind of funny. Once he bought into it, and he's like, how's the paperwork going? I'll get on it. he was ready to get out from underneath it. And that helped a bunch. He really bought into it, and he was getting of the age where he was getting concerned, getting out and doing some of the things. He didn't want to get in the pen sorting anymore. He didn't want to be pushing behind the squeeze chute. He was pretty happy I came home and could do some of that. So he was motivating me as well. He wanted to get it going, and so was mom. Mom kind of wanted to retire. She didn't want to have to worry about dad being out there. Now, dad didn't go anywhere. He still comes out. He still works. He still comes on the ranch, but he doesn't have to. That was a really nice thing for him. There were multiple pieces that kept us going, Bill. It was individual tasks that kind of kept us focused. I have to get this done, and I have the expectation that I'm going to get it done for the family. It was asking questions. Hey, how's this piece? And just being blunt. Did you get that done? Nope, nope. I'm waiting to hear back from so and so. I'm waiting to hear back from Secretary of State. I'm waiting to hear back from the attorney. So uh, every family is going to take some of those questions personal. So you're going to rub some feathers the wrong way once in a while. That's okay. That's fine. But you don't take it personally. You move on and start over again. So there were a number of different ways we kept it motoring. We all had goals. We all had things we wanted to do, and like from my uncle's side, they figured out pretty quick. My cousin wanted to come home, so they wanted to get it done. So it was simple and easy for them as well.
Most of that was outlined in your initial agreement as to those who's doing what and that kind of stuff, so that agreement kind of kept you on track too.
It did. It did. Now, it didn't get into the fine details about who was looking up this document and who was looking up that document. It was that this needed to be done, this piece needed to be done, and there was an itemized list of projects, and it didn't say who and didn't say by when. We just kind of left that up to us, but we had an outline of projects that needed to be completed. Having that family agreement was, like I said, that overarching tool that kept us on track for getting the other pieces done. And we signed off on it. We all signed off that, yes, this is what we want. It's not easy to keep things going, but once we got everybody kind of heading the right direction, it kept moving. But it was a lot of conversations ahead of time to get folks to buy in to it. A lot of conversation, a lot of communication, and sitting and listening. People talk about communication. They think they need to say something. You need to listen more than you need to talk.